It is Friday, the 16th of October, 2020, and we're looking at the website that the Internet Archive Wayback Machine preserved when my websites went down. Well, they would have preserved it even before that, but unfortunately my total solar eclipse lore websites went down in 2006. I had a financial hiccup that made it impossible to pay the fees, and the sites went down, and I was never able to properly create them. I mean, I could have, but for whatever reason it didn't quite happen. But certainly at the time I wasn't able to even keep them up, let alone recreate them. So essentially what I thought I would do is just make a little video describing what we're seeing here. So basically what it comes down to is I saw a bird-like pattern in the sun's corona in a photograph of the July 11th, 1991 total solar eclipse published in the May 1992 edition of National Geographic magazine. The photograph was taken by French astronomer Serge Couchemy, and he used what's called a radial gradient filter to try to balance out the exposure so that it was similar to what the human eye would see. When I first saw the photo, when I first got the National Geographic, I did not see the bird-like pattern, and that was because the photo was arranged on the page in a way that the wings of the phoenix ran up and down the gutter. They were sort of hidden in the gutter of the photo, and so I just did not see the bird-like pattern. It was only a few weeks later when I saw the photo. It was a two-page spread from a different angle, basically from like a 90 degrees rotated angle, that I saw the bird-like pattern and realized that, you know, intuitively, immediately, that this was almost certainly the origin of the myth of the phoenix, the bird that's, you know, very closely associated with the sun, which dies and it's reborn on one day, and whose death and rebirth is essentially, you know, centuries apart, and often, you know, depending on the variation of the myth, you know, they give different numbers to the number of years between the death and the rebirth of the phoenix, and some of these numbers, in any case, are solar cycle numbers. So it was pretty obvious to me, just from the get-go, that this bird-like pattern in the sun's corona was the most probable source of inspiration for the phoenix myth, and I proceeded to, you know, do research into that to see if I could find corroborating evidence and so on, and of course I did, and in the process of research I actually found quite a number of other mythical birds that were inspired by the same phenomena, most notably the the ancient Egyptian solar falcon god Horus. I wouldn't doubt that there's some Roman versions, but of this sunbird. Maybe even the imperial eagle on the standards of Rome might well reference this. I haven't really thoroughly researched that, but certainly in terms of Horus, again, this solar falcon god who's very closely associated with the sun and the moon, both the sun and the moon. In fact, his left eye is the moon, his right eye is the sun, so his eyes are the sun and the moon. And in one myth, which is inscribed in stone on the temple of Edfu, the temple to Horus at Edfu, which is a later temple, it's from the Ptolemaic period, but it literally speaks of Horus flying up to the sun in the shape of a winged disc. Well, you know, there's a winged disc up in the sky when the sun is totally eclipsed by the moon, and this bird-like pattern is seen in the sun's corona. I'll mention that this pattern is not seen in all eclipses. It's actually, I'd say, a minority of solar eclipses where this specifically quite bird-like pattern is seen, but it's obvious that it was seen by ancient cultures, and when they saw it, you know, they saw this bird-like pattern in the sun's corona during a total solar eclipse, which in and of itself is a truly awe-inspiring event, and then they see this bird pattern. So it's not difficult to see how they would develop religious beliefs and myths arising out of seeing this bird-like pattern in the sun's corona during a total solar eclipse. So anyhow, so the title here, How the Total Solar Eclipse Inspired the Ancient Winged Sun Disk Symbol, the Mythical Phoenix Bird, and a flock of other mythical birds of the sun, which essentially is it. So here we have, this is a Mesopotamian winged sun symbol. So you have a very bird-like pattern around a ring. You have the wings and the tail of a bird around a ring, which is also around, it even looks like almost spherical. So it's almost as if the Mesopotamians understood that the sun and the moon were spheres, because this is it's not flat, it's spherical. And so the dome in the center would be the moon eclipsing the sun. The ring around it would be the inner corona, known as the chromosphere, which is sort of like a pink ring that is seen around the moon during totality, and then the outer corona with the wings and the tail. And we can see the similarity here. We don't see the chromosphere because it's a black and white image, but it was seen in the Serge-Kochmi photo I'm talking about. But you clearly see the wings, and maybe not so much in the video. There's a tail pattern here. Here we have a Aztec version from Teotihuacan. So here we have a Quetzal bird in green, but we essentially have a winged sun symbol right here. So we have the winged sun symbol incorporated into this bird. I think you can see how that could easily have been inspired by this, and almost certainly was. This is a typical Egyptian winged sun symbol, which does not have the tail of the bird. It very, very rarely, if ever, has a tail of the bird. It's just the sun with wings on either side of it. Mostly usually straight out on either side, sometimes swooping downwards, sometimes sweeping upwards too in certain depictions. And then this, unfortunately, the Hittite winged sun symbol, the image isn't there. It wasn't preserved for whatever reason. But essentially the Hittite winged sun symbol, I can't remember exactly which image I used here, but let's see what it says. An ancient Hittite winged sun disk symbol very accurately depicts the coronal plumes of the sun's polar regions. This religious symbol compares very favorably with the best modern scientific photographs of total solar eclipses. I guess the ancient Hittites were into science and religion. So unfortunately we don't have the image, but I can assure you that the image in question, the tail feathers, you know, of the winged sun symbol do in fact closely resemble the polar plumes of the sun's corona. So yeah, I wrote, we are the stars which sing, we sing with our light, we are the birds of fire, we fly over the sky, our light is a voice. So this is from a Mi'kmaq Algonquin Song of the Stars, which was basically sung as a song by the group Dead Can Dance. That's how I became aware of it. And so it's just interesting, you know, how this Mi'kmaq Algonquin Song of the Stars specifically describes stars as the birds of fire and how they fly over the sky. So I think it's possible that this idea of stars being specifically birds of fire was at least partially informed by the fact that the total eclipse sun has this bird-like pattern in it. Obviously it could just be just the fact that the stars move across the sky, but I think it's very possible that this song hints at what we've just discussed here. We'll skip by the World Day of Conscience. I basically had this idea of a World Day of Conscience happening whenever there was a total solar eclipse in the world. After the Columbia disaster, I did dedicate this particular website to the crew of Columbia, which by the way means dove, or it means peace, but it's derived from the word for dove. So that came later. That was a later addition to the website. So this is the first page. I'll just read what it says. Pedigree of the Phoenix details my extensive research into how a remarkable bird-like pattern that is spectacularly manifested within the sun's corona during some total solar eclipses inspired a variety of mythical birds and diverse ancient religious beliefs and symbols. The winged sun symbol of ancient Egypt and other Mesopotamian civilizations such as the Assyrians, the Babylonians, and the Hittites, not to mention the Sumerians, by the way, was quite evidently inspired by the phoenix bird, aka bird of the sun, that is readily perceivable within the sun's corona during the total phase of a total solar eclipse of some. Excuse me, I'm sort of extrapolating here. I'm not reading actually what it says. Of some total eclipses of the sun, because it's not all of them. It's not all of them where this bird-like pattern is visible. As I said, it's a minority. Anyway, going on. Similar sun symbols of diverse ancient civilizations all around the world were also inspired by the winged sun that may be witnessed hovering in the heavens during totality. The classical Greek phoenix myth that can be quite readily shown to have been inspired, at least in part, by the Bennu bird, heron god of Egyptian religion, which can, in turn, be shown to have almost certainly been originally inspired by the spectacular coronal sunbird or winged disk that is manifested in the heavens during some total solar eclipses. Ancient Greek historians such as Herodotus and Diodorus reported that the ancient Egyptian priests attempted to mathematically calculate the time of the return of the Egyptian phoenix bird known as the Bennu bird. These and other ancient historians also reported that the Egyptian priests were very skilled at mathematically calculating the future occurrence of both solar and lunar eclipses. Coincidence? I think not. Let's see where we are on time here. Okay, we still got plenty of time left. Still got about 8 minutes left. So we'll continue on. So, you know, I'm being fairly assertive here. I'm not putting this forward as a hypothesis, or if, buts, or maybes, because I'm pretty convinced, you know. If other people want to be skeptical, that's fine, but I've done the research and I'm quite certain about this stuff. A diverse flock of other mythical birds, such as ancient Egypt's solar falcon god Horus, Suparna and Garuda of ancient Indian religious beliefs, i.e. Hindu belief, and thus of modern Hinduism, the Hebrew Bar Jukne and Aziz, and the Rock, aka Ruk, and Simurg of Arabia were most probably inspired by the gigantic bird that was seen during ancient and indeed prehistoric total eclipse of the sun. So yes, I can't prove it absolutely, but it's highly probable that these mythical birds were inspired by this bird-like pattern in the sun's corona. I can't absolutely prove it in some cases. I can come close to absolutely proving it in terms of Horus. And I think the phoenix is very, very solid. You know, some of the other mythical birds, there's less known about their mythology and so on. It's harder to absolutely prove. But, you know, if one major mythical bird closely associated with the sun can be shown to have almost certainly been inspired by this bird-like pattern in the sun's corona, then I think we can say that, you know, most of the other ones that have similar characteristics were derived from the same source. So let's see. So yes, this coronal sunbird manifested during totality became a bird avatar of the sun god that profoundly influenced the religious beliefs of diverse ancient civilizations. These include, but are by no means limited to, many pre-Columbian cultures of the ancient Americas, such as the Mayans, the Aztecs, and Toltecs of Mesoamerica, the Nazca and Moche of Peru, that's also known as Mochica, and various North American cultures, such as the Mississippian mound builders in the east, and the Haida and the Tlingit of the Pacific Northwest coast. Even the Inuit in the far north had myths about this total solar eclipse sunbird, which would probably manifest itself most spectacular during a total eclipse of the midnight sun. It is quite possible, in fact, in my informed opinion, it is highly probable, that the mythological bird raven, and even the legendary thunderbird were originally inspired by the remarkable bird of the sun that is manifested in the heavens during some total solar eclipses. After all, even modern astronomers have compared the advancing shadow of the moon to a terrifying storm cloud, and the diamond ring effect of total solar eclipses has been compared to the flashes of lightning. The Chinese Feng Wang, basically the Chinese phoenix, and the Japanese Huo phoenixes were also most probably inspired by the genuinely awe-inspiring coronal sunbird that graces the heavens above our planet during the spectacular death and rebirth of the Earth's sun during a total solar eclipse. And yeah, we still got 4 minutes left, so let's forge ahead. So read Pedigree of the Phoenix Part 1. We won't go to that now because we're going to run out of time. Read a Hafiz poem about the phoenix. Now there's an idea. So yeah, let's do that. We still have time for that. So we're going to the Hafiz poem about the phoenix. And it's translated by the American transcendentalist Ralph Waldo Emerson. Hopefully it'll come up. Oh, there we go. The Phoenix. A poem about the mythical phoenix bird by Shams-ud-Din Muhammad Hafiz, as translated by Ralph Waldo Emerson. My phoenix long ago secured his nest in sky vault's cope. In the body's cage immured, he is weary of life's hope. Round and round this heap of ashes now flies the bird amain, but in that odorous niche of heaven nestles the bird again. Once flies he upward, he will perch on Tuba's golden bough. His home is on that fruited arch, which cools the blessed below. If over this world of ours his wings my phoenix spread, how gracious falls on land and sea the soul-refreshing shade. Either world inhabits he, sees oft below him planets roll. His body is all of air compact, of Allah's love, his soul. And then we have these various images of what I believe to be depictions of the solar eclipse sunbird. On the left here we have a Nazca Geoglyph, which I believe depicts essentially an anthropomorphized, what looks to be a face inside the body of the bird here. You got short wings on either side, a long tail. But inside the body of the bird, there's what appears to be a human face. And interestingly enough, it's basically eyebrows and a nose. And what's interesting is that the eyebrows and the nose also look like the wings and tail of a bird. So it's almost like a bird inside a bird, creating a human face. This is the Serge Kouchmi photo I'm talking about, which is in the May 1992 issue of National Geographic. This is a Hittite winged sun symbol with a solar cross in the middle of the sun. And then here below on the left we have a Mayan winged sun symbol. This would be a pectoral on the chest above the heart of a ruler, essentially. So we have a human face and then sort of stylized wings on either side, and then this tail of the bird below the human face. So as far as I'm concerned, this is an anthropomorphized depiction of the sun god that is really not much different than this Nazca Geoglyph. Pretty much the same thing, and basically inspired by the total solar eclipse sunbird. Then we have the Egyptian winged sun symbol there, and I see we have about a minute left, so I'm going to wrap this up. But what I will do is I will go on to the main writing. This is sort of my intro. So we're wrapping this up, and we're going to go to my main writing in another piece. We'll just have a quick look here. Maybe there's time for this. Like I said, we've only got about a minute left to 40 seconds. Taking its sweet time. Sorry, see, that's the problem, is not everything was preserved. So on that note, we're wrapping this up. But yeah, unfortunately, not all of my eclipse lore websites were preserved by the Internet Archive. Some of them are not retrievable, and this Assyrian winged sun symbol website, unfortunately, is one of the ones that are not preserved. That's it for now.